The 1970s were packed with legendary muscle cars, but not every powerhouse got the recognition it deserved. Some classic sleeper cars hid insane performance under unassuming designs, making them the ultimate street surprises. These unknown sleeper cars didn't have flashy stripes or aggressive scoops, but under the hood, pure muscle. From forgotten factory beasts to underrated high-performance options, we're diving into 8 unknown sleeper cars of the 1970s that could outrun the competition while flying under the radar. Which one is your favorite? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Classic Cars Archive for more muscle car history. 1. 1970 Mercury Cyclone spoiler. One of the first names that comes to mind when talking about unknown sleeper cars of the 1970s, but really shouldn't have been forgotten, is the 1970 Mercury Cyclone spoiler. This car had everything: a powerful engine, aggressive styling, and serious performance. Yet somehow, it got overshadowed by other classic muscle cars of its time. Mercury was trying to break away from its image of building fancy Fairlanes and tame Cougars, and with the Cyclone spoiler, they absolutely nailed it. At first glance, it looked a lot like the Torino Cobra, but Mercury gave it a unique touch. The body was longer, sleeker, and had that bold Coke bottle shape that made it stand out. And the best part? It came race-ready straight from the factory, with no need for expensive modifications. Under the hood sat a 429 cubic inch V8 with ram air, cranking out 370 horsepower. But if that wasn't enough, Mercury offered the Super Cobra Jet package, bumping power up to 375 horsepower with solid lifters, a hotter camshaft, and stronger internals. This package also included a 4-speed manual transmission, an upgraded oil cooler, and Detroit locker rear differential with 3.91 or 4.30 rear gears for serious traction. Mercury didn't stop there. The functional hood scoop fed fresh air into the hungry V8, while a chin spoiler and rear wing helped with high-speed stability. Inside, the Cyclone spoiler had something better than the Torino: a driver-focused instrument cluster with round gauges for RPM, oil pressure, coolant temperature, and an ammeter. Despite being nearly 210 inches long and weighing about 3,900 pounds, the Cyclone spoiler handled surprisingly well, thanks to its standard competition suspension package. Yet, it never got the recognition it deserved. 2. 1971 AMC Matador 401. Next up, we've got one of the rarest sleeper cars of the 1970s, the 1971 AMC Matador Machine Go. Almost nobody talks about it, but this thing had serious power, great handling, and muscle car performance. So why did it fly under the radar? Maybe because AMC was always the underdog, or maybe it just got lost in the flood of muscle cars at the time. Either way, this was a true classic sleeper car. Fast, rare, and completely overlooked. At first glance, the Matador didn't exactly scream muscle car. It shared its platform with the Ambassador, and its clean, understated design made it easy to mistake for just another AMC sedan. But AMC had a secret weapon: the Machine Go package. While it wasn't as flashy as the Rebel machine, it still packed serious upgrades under the hood. Buyers had 2 V8 options: a 360 cubic inch engine with solid power, or the beastly 401 cubic inch V8, which pushed out even more. The dual exhaust system came standard with the bigger engine and was optional for the 360. Unlike the Rebel machine, AMC didn't give this car bold graphics or a ram air scoop, which might explain why so many people overlooked it. But the Machine Go wasn't just about raw power. It came with 15 by 7-inch slot-style wheels, wrapped in Goodyear polyglass tires, plus a heavy-duty handling package with upgraded springs, shocks, and a rear sway bar. Power disc brakes were standard, And you could even upgrade to a twin-grip differential for better traction. And then there's the rarity factor. AMC never kept exact records, but experts estimate only 55 to 57 were ever built. That makes it one of the rarest muscle cars of its era. 3. 1972 Pontiac Luxury Lemans 455HO. The 1972 Pontiac Lemans 455HO is a muscle car that flew under the radar, despite having everything a true enthusiast could want. With its impressive performance, bold styling, and a powerful engine, this car was a hidden gem in the muscle car world. While the GTO took center stage, the Lemans 455HO offered the same thrilling experience without the high price tag and expensive insurance. Under the hood, this beast packed a 455 cubic inch V8 engine, producing 300 horsepower, and featured a functional ram air system, a 4-speed Muncie M22 manual transmission, and a safe T-track differential for enhanced traction. Its Y99 handling package included heavy-duty suspension, G60 by 15-inch white-letter tires, and 15 by 7-inch Rally 2 wheels, giving it the performance to back up its looks. The T41 Endura front end gave the Lemans the same aggressive stance as the GTO, while the interior included bucket seats, a rally gauge cluster with tachometer, and a formula steering wheel. While it was almost identical to the GTO in terms of performance, it lacked the GTO badge, which meant it was often overlooked by most people. One of the main reasons for its obscurity? Rarity. Only 31 Lemans coupes were built with this specific configuration, and without a special V code to distinguish them, they were often mistaken for standard Lemans models. Today, many don't even realize that the Lemans 455HO exists, making it a true sleeper in the muscle car world. 4. 1975 Chevrolet Nova 9C1 Police Package. The next car we'd like to highlight is the 1975 Buick Century GS, a true hidden gem in the world of muscle cars. While many muscle cars from the late 1960s and early 1970s are celebrated, the Buick Century remains largely overlooked, despite having all the right elements to make it legendary. In 1975, the Century was Buick's mid-size offering, available as a coupe, sedan, or station wagon. It initially came with a 231 cubic inch V6 engine, pushing out 110 horsepower. But the real star of the show was the 350 cubic inch V8, which featured a 4-barrel carburetor and delivered 145 horsepower. That might not sound like much, but thanks to Buick's focus on ride quality and precise handling, the Century felt much quicker and more planted on the road than many of its competitors. Despite having all the performance potential, Buick never fully marketed it as a high-performance car, which is where it became a sleeper. The Grand Sport GS package, once a true muscle car trim, was reduced to just an appearance and suspension upgrade. The mighty 455 cubic inch V8, a legendary engine in its own right, was no longer available, and buyers were left with either the V6 or the 350 V8. One of the most unique versions of the Century was the 1975 Indianapolis 500 pace car. While the actual pace car boasted a 455 cubic inch V8, dual exhaust, and heavy-duty suspension, the public replicas were toned down, but still carried the same distinctive look. White paint, red and blue decals, and T-top roof panels. Though it wasn't marketed as a performance car, the Century had a lot of untapped potential, proving to be a quick, stylish, and well-built sleeper that didn't get the recognition it deserved. 5. 1975 Buick Century GS. The 1975 Buick Century GS is a hidden gem in the world of muscle cars, offering all the right ingredients for performance and style but flying under the radar. With a big V8 engine, solid handling, and even a role as the Indianapolis 500 pace car, it had the makings of a legend. By 1975, the Century had evolved into Buick's midsize car, available as a coupe, sedan, or station wagon. While the base model came with a 231 cubic inch V6 engine delivering 110 horsepower, the real star of the show was the 350 cubic inch V8. With a 4-barrel carburetor, this engine churned out 145 horsepower. Nothing mind-blowing on paper, but thanks to Buick's emphasis on ride quality and handling, the Century felt agile and responsive on the road. Although Buick never marketed the Century as a high-performance machine, it had serious potential under the hood. The once muscle car-grade Grand Sport GS package had been scaled back to an appearance and suspension package, and the mighty 455 cubic inch V8 was no longer available. Instead, buyers could choose between the V6 or the 350 cubic inch V8. Yet, with the right tuning, the Century still had what it took to outshine flashier competitors on the road. One of the coolest versions of the Century was the 1975 Indianapolis 500 pace car. The actual pace car featured a 455 cubic inch V8, dual exhaust, and heavy-duty suspension. But the replicas sold to the public were a bit toned down, with a 350 cubic inch V8, softer suspension, and striking white paint with red and blue decals. They still carried the pace car look. 6. 1976 Plymouth Volaré Roadrunner. Next up is a muscle car that flew under the radar, despite packing some serious punch. The 1976 Plymouth Volaré Roadrunner. By the mid-1970s, muscle cars were facing tough times. Gas prices were soaring, insurance premiums were climbing, and new government regulations were forcing automakers to dial back their performance. Chrysler had to innovate, and their solution was the 1976 Volaré Roadrunner, a car that still carried the muscle car DNA, but looked more like a typical everyday cruiser. What made this Roadrunner stand out was that it wasn't a separate model anymore. The iconic Roadrunner name was now just an option package on the Volaré, meaning it blended in with standard cars, losing the aggressive presence of its predecessors. Yet, underneath the mild exterior, this car was far from ordinary. While the factory version didn't get much attention, Barry Butler's version proved just how deceptive appearances could be. Barry and his brother took a small block Chrysler Wolf 8 and transformed it into a powerhouse. They bumped its displacement to 408 cubic inches and filled it with high-performance upgrades, including a 4-inch crankshaft, a high-lift camshaft, ported heads, a big carburetor, and even a nitrous kit. The result? A car that looked like an ordinary Volaré but could run the quarter mile in an impressive 12.6 seconds at 110 miles per hour. Talk about a sleeper. The suspension was equally impressive, with factory torsion bars in the front, heavy-duty leaf springs in the rear, and KYB shocks for superior handling. The 8 3/4-inch rear axle with 3.91 gears provided the perfect mix of acceleration and drivability. 7. 1977 Ford LTD 2. Next up is the 1977 Ford LTD 2, a car that flew under the radar despite having hidden muscle car potential. Built between 1977 and 1979, the LTD 2 looked like a big, comfortable family cruiser with a boxy front end, fender flares, and optional opera windows. Its appearance didn't scream performance, but beneath the surface was a car that had more to offer. Ford positioned the LTD2 as a mid-size luxury car, but it actually rode on an updated Torino chassis, designed for performance. The engine lineup was where things got interesting. Most models came with a 302 cubic inch V8, but the real magic happened with the optional 351 cubic inch Windsor or modified V8, or even the 400 cubic inch V8. These engines packed plenty of torque, and with a few modifications, the LTD2 could become a serious street sleeper. The chassis was built to handle power, with a full perimeter frame, 14 rubber body mounts, and a rear suspension featuring a 4-link solid axle with coil springs. But despite its potential, the timing was off. When the LTD2 was released, the market was shifting towards smaller, more fuel-efficient cars. As a result, the LTD2 quickly faded from the spotlight. 8. 1979 Chrysler 300. The final car on our list is the 1979 Chrysler 300, a true sleeper that went largely unnoticed despite its impressive power and iconic name. After discontinuing the 300 model in 1971, Chrysler revived it for 1 year in 1979, but with a twist. Rather than creating an all-new muscle car, Chrysler turned the Cordoba into a performance package. At first glance, the 1979 Chrysler 300 seemed like just another Cordoba with white paint, red and blue pinstripes, and a black egg crate grille. But the details told a different story. Bold 300 badges, gold-etched quarter windows, aggressive fender louvers, and a sporty interior with red leather bucket seats, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, aluminum dash trim, and a full set of sport gauges, A, Conceal L. Under the hood, the 300 packed a 360 cubic inch V8 engine with a 4-barrel carburetor, delivering 195 horsepower, making it one of the strongest engines of 1979. For comparison, that year's base Corvette only had 185 horsepower. Despite the power, the Chrysler 300 went largely unnoticed. By the time it debuted, the golden age of muscle cars was fading, and Chrysler was struggling. Gas prices were on the rise, and the Dodge Lil Red Express truck grabbed all the attention. Conclusion: these 8 unknown sleeper cars of the 1970s prove that appearances can be deceiving. Whether it's the understated design or the hidden power under the hood, classic sleeper cars like these continue to surprise and impress enthusiasts. From the Chrysler 300 to the Plymouth Volaré Roadrunner, these vehicles embody the spirit of muscle cars that didn't need to shout to be powerful. What do you think of these unknown sleeper cars? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel for more amazing content on muscle cars.